I mean, the way we were doing it was there'd be, used tires in the garbage can. So we were always the guys to run the stuff out of the garbage can, whether it's used tires, bent bars we'd take home and straighten, just because the amount of stuff I was going through. Like I said, we were literally taking clutch plates out, and I'd seen my dad scraping them on the cement when we're at tracks and stuff. Jet stepped it up. He's the freaking gnarliest dude right now, and he looks so methodical when he rides. Like, he doesn't look like he's just, pinned and getting sketchy and sending it.
Yeah, but with all that being said, you're probably going to smoke him on a two-stroke at Washougal.
If I can keep from getting lapped by Jet when I'm on the two-stroke at Washougal, that'll be like a win for me.
The tracks in America, the way that they prep them, it breeds like sandy motherfuckers because you've got so much traction, the dirt's super deep, and there's always lines. And so if you can be super fit to charge through the bumps, like, you're going to have some really good lines through turns, and then they've got super sick jumps. But I think especially like this year, actually curious to get your opinion on this. This is like a bit of a bike I'm going to start pedaling. I really think that they need to ban the scoop tires unless it's like Southwick or maybe like literally just pick rounds where it's like, okay, you can run a scoop here, and here, and that's it. Everything else has to be a normal tire. Because you look at Parla, right? That place looked like a slot car track because there was scoop tires on not sand, basically. And it's like they run them so that they can get the start. But everywhere else, it's really not the kind of track where you need to run a scoop. And then you just end up with like this completely grooved out slot car track that the guys can't really race. And I think what made me think of that is the point that you brought up about Washougal. It's like it always seems to have really good racing. But it's because it's not ripped crazy deep. Like, it's just not, that's not the way that soil works. So you're able to have guys moving around in multiple lines. And like, you don't even have to run a line in a turn and you can make it work. And it's like for the guys that have really good throttle control and really good ability to find traction, they're the ones that go fast. And I think that, just after watching the Nationals this year, especially this year, it's become super obvious. I just think like, we just need to regulate and just say like, hey, these are the tracks you can run a scoop, the rest you can't. And I honestly think we'll have much better racing as a result of it.
Yeah, 100%. Like you were saying, a lot of guys are running the thing just for the start. So I've ran a scoop before just to try and get a good start. And I mean, it's really good everywhere except corners. And it just, like you kind of said, I mean, it chews up the track quite a bit, especially on these ones where, it develops a rut and the dirt's not necessarily loose and it'll slot car around. So that is kind of an interesting thing to think about. I haven't really thought about that before. I mean, in Europe, they're mostly running scoops though, right?
Yeah, they do the same thing in Europe basically these days, and it's just doing the same thing. Like, I just feel like the tracks are just getting absolutely destroyed more than they ever have. And yeah, I mean, I think in Europe, like they don't really prep the tracks in the same way that they kind of do here. Like Trentino's like gravel, and the start straight is like really nice. It's like they brought in really nice dirt for the start straight, super deep. But then the rest of the tracks, pretty much just like this rocky, gravelly soil. But I mean, in all other forms of racing, you get told what tires you can run. It's a free for all in motocross and supercross. And, and I've even said before that I think that there should be like a supercross only tire to try and avoid those tracks getting so blown out as well. But yeah, to me, it's like super easy call to make. You go Southwick, you can run one. Millville, you can run one. Redbud, you can run one. That's it. Because you're looking for an advantage off the start. But if nobody else has that advantage, fair, you know what I mean? Fair game. And I think it'll make the racing better.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely I see what you're talking about there. Like the tracks these last few years have definitely developed like quite a bit differently. And like you look back at the two-stroke era, the tracks were more like, braking bumps and acceleration bumps, and not necessarily like massive ruts. And like even you see like Stewart and Carmichael when they were racing. I mean, there was nasty ruts, but it seemed like a lot of the tracks of that era, they were able to kind of float around a little bit more, and the battles seemed to be better. I could definitely be wrong on that, but I think you're definitely right. Like the tracks can get like chewed out in the corners, and then there's only one good main line, which is kind of like makes the racing a little more boring for sure.
Well, I think that the second moto at Parla was the best example of it, right? Like, Jet gets out front, gets a start, runs the pace, covers the inside lines, and forces Sexton to pick. So basically, he put him in the position of, if you want to pass me, it has to be on the outside. You can't come up any insides, because if Jet's in the line, there's no other way, like there's no line you can take now. There's just this line. This is on the inside. So if you need to pass me, you're going to have to go around the outside, which means you're going to have to take a massive risk, and that line's not developed. It's a longer way around, and it's super sketchy because you don't really have that much grip because you're running a scoop tire and it's 330 at Parla. So it's like, I just think that moto right there, if anyone is like thinking I'm crazy, go and watch that moto from that perspective, and I think that you'll start to kind of like see the point. But I think that's back to your point, is like why Washougal always is so good, is because guys can move around the track.
Yeah, 100%. Like the even in Supercross these last few years, like they've been trying to make the tracks more racer friendly, to pass and all that, and it's interesting because a lot of the tracks that are more technical seem to be almost the safer ones, because they guys are going slower, like the big rhythms, the huge corners and all that, and the ones where they're more flat and everything, guys seem to be sending it harder and get more hurt. That's just my opinion on it, but for outdoors, even with the tracks, being like slot car almost, it's been, the guys seem to be going slower, but the racing isn't as good being like that. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, you go back to, like you said, like Ricky's last kind of years on a two-stroke, and it's like you just can move around the track. And there was actually the Trey Kennard podcast, which I think that comes out tomorrow, but we were talking about Millville 2013 when he had that crazy battle with James. And the first thing that he said when I asked him about it was, it was just like a weird year. They didn't rip it as deep, so you could move around. And that was one of the best motocross races in history. Is like, yeah, I guess like the speeds are up, but you guys can go fast. I think the stuff that makes it dangerous is like these crazy ruts and these crazy, like, just it looks like an explosion's gone off on the track at the end of, you know what I mean? Like, it actually looks like, it doesn't look like a motocross track these days. You walk a track after a national and it looks like a fucking bomb's gone off. I think that's what's dangerous.
Yeah, 100%. Like you were saying, it looks like a freaking bomb went off at some of these nationals. I mean, there's parts everywhere, and pretty much goggles, all this stuff. It's carnage. It's like a war zone out there, and to find that fine line, I think over the years, the tracks and the AMA felt, all those guys are trying to find that perfect happy medium, and I know that's a tricky thing to get to. So. It's weird to see what they try at some of these things.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang, and as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.